The advent of Islam in India may be traced back to 7th century AD, immediately after its emergence in Arabia as a major religion. The word Islam has been derived from a root word which means surrendering oneself to God. The impact of Islam was felt on Indian society mainly because of its humanistic concepts. These include fraternity of human beings, justice as the governing principle of social ethics, charity towards the have-nots, simplicity of doctrines, monotheism, emphasis on the beneficent, that is Rahman, and the merciful, who is Rahim, attributes of God, with implications for mercy and beneficence towards the creatures of God in fulfillment of the obligation towards the humanity, that is Haqqul Ibad. In his all-time classic Influence of Islam on Indian Culture, Dr. Tarachand, an eminent historian philosopher, has emphasized upon the message of Dil-e Kul, which is peace for all and complete peace, of the Muslim Sufi Silsila, which is mystic orders. Sufi saints symbolized the true essence of Islam as defenders of the oppressed and the underprivileged. The objectives of this lessons are, after completion of this lesson, you will be able to understand the advent of Islam in India and also comprehend the impact of Islam on Indian society and culture. Music, paintings and literature. The Mughals were great patrons of arts. Many emperors and princes, Akbar and Dara Shikoh, Shah Jahan's son, being the most prominent, were deeply concerned with problems of metaphysics, while some others were writers of considerable talent. Babur penned Babarnama, a moving memoir wherein he expressed his nostalgia for the land of his birth and documented the Indian scene with great objectivity. Jahangir too has left behind an eminently readable memoir, Tuzuke Jahangiri. Akbar's Fatehpur Sikri presents an exquisite blending of elements from both Islamic and the Hindu architectural styles. Jahangir was a connoisseur of paintings and landscaped gardens. The beautiful landscaped gardens Shalimar Bagh and Nishad Bagh evoke the resplendent floral exuberance. Shah Jahan was a prolific builder. He built the Red Fort and the majestic Jama Masjid in Delhi, though what he is remembered most for is the Taj Mahal, the mausoleum to his beloved wife Mumtaz Mahal, who had died during childbirth. Impressive progress was made in the spheres of music, painting and literature. The Mughal miniatures influenced and produced schools of art in the princely states of Kota, Bundi and Kishangarh in Rajasthan and in Kangra, Bhaisoli and Guler in Himachal Pradesh. The themes of these exquisite landscapes and portraits deal with love of Radha and Krishna, the changing cycle of seasons and ragas, which is the modes of Indian classical music. Poetry was sensitive to aspirations of the masses and was penned not only in Hindi but also in Marathi, Gujarati and Tamil. Jaisi, Namdev, Tukaram, Narsi Mehta, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Tyagaraja are some of the illustrious names. Many regional languages such as Hindi, Urdu, Gujarati, Marathi and Bengali had by 17th century acquired a distinct identity and could claim of a large body of literature. The languages that are spoken today in most parts of India are the ones that evolved and grew to maturity during the Mughal period. Bahadur Shah Zafar, the last of great Mughals, was a passionate lover of poetry and eminent Urdu poets The Islamic impact was also felt keenly in the realm of music. The Muslim rulers were great lovers of music. They openly patronized the growth of music and musicians in the country. During this period, Islamic music came in close contact with Indian classical music. From the synthesis, a number of new musical regulations and instruments came into existence. Even the Indian musical treatise Rag Darpan was translated into Persian during the reign of Firoz Tughlaq. The Indian musical instrument veena combined with Iranian tambura led to the birth of a new string instrument called sitar. Besides, various other new instruments like sarangi, dilruba, taus, rabab, surbin, sursingar, tabla and algoza were born out of this cultural synthesis. Among the regional patrons of music, Sultan Hussain Sharki of Jaunpur and Raja Mansingh of Gwalior are prominent. With such a mixed patronage from Hindu and Muslim rulers, a lot of changes were introduced in Indian traditional ragas and raginis, which are the melodies, to suit the demand of the audiences. The introduction of thumri, khayal, kavali, ghazal, lavani, dhun, chatrangan raga, dhrupad made Indian classical compositions more melodious. Any Akbari provides a list of 30 musicians in the court of Akbar who were very talented and were known all over the country. Several preachers of Bhakti cult and Sufism also adopted music as a way of their teachings. Saint Sarangdev wrote Encyclopedia of Indian Music known as Sangeeta Ratnakar. Dance was another aspect of arts which was jointly cultivated. The Hindu art of mural painting underwent a remarkable change with the arrival of Mughals, who brought with them the tradition of Chinese cum Persian painting. It began with the Mughal ruler Humayun, who was quite familiar with this tradition. Famous painters of Mughal India were Mir Sayyid Ali, Dost Muhammad, Baswan, Mansoor, Abul Hassan and others. The themes of paintings were quite varied. They consisted of Razmanama, Persian translation of Mahabharat, Hamzanama, story of Prophet Muhammad's uncle Amir Hamza, Turki-e-Alfi, story of first 1000 years of Islam, Padsha Nama, which is description of court ceremonies and other important events. Thus, in the field of art, architecture and painting, Muslim influence maintained its uniqueness and excellence and constituted a significant phase in the annals of Indian art. One of the most significant results of Hindu-Muslim coexistence was felt in the realm of language and literature. During the time of Muslim rule in India, the rulers introduced their own languages like Arabic and Persian into Indian administration. The existing Indian languages such as Hindi, Bengali, Marathi, Tamil and Gujarati were considerably influenced by Persian, Arabic and Turkish languages of the Muslim community. In this process of linguistic intermingling, the literary tradition of the country underwent a sea change. Many books in different Indian languages were translated into Persian and Arabic and vice versa. The court language of Muslim rulers in India was Persian. So much importance was given to writings of history of India in Persian. Further, the rulers patronized the growth of Persian learning and arts. As a result, monumental historical accounts were compiled during this period that serve as invaluable historical sources even today. Prominent among them are Tazul Masir by Hassan Niazmi, Tabake Nasiri by Minas Siraz, Tariq-e Firuz Shahi and Fatwa-e Jahangiri by Ziauddin Barani. Besides such historical accounts, noteworthy Sanskrit works too were translated into Arabic and Persian. They are Tutnama, that is Book of the Parrot, a collection of 52 short stories by Zia Naqshbandi, translation of Bhagavad Puran by Raja Todarmal, translation of Atharva Veda and Ramayana by Mullah Abdul Qadir Badani, translation of Panchatantra by Ibnul Muqaffa, translation of classical works on mathematics of Lilibati into Arabic by Faizi, translation of certain parts of Mahabharat into Arabic by Abu Salih ibn and later by Abul Hasan Ali. Firoz Tughlaq had ordered the translation of certain books on medicine in Sanskrit into Persian. Abul Fazl and his brother Faizi translated the Sanskrit works into Persian, usually with the help of Sanskrit Pandits and scholars. Translation of Arabic, Turkish and Kashmiri works were also undertaken. During the reign of Sultan Zainul Abidin of Kashmir, Mahabharat and Rajatarangini were translated into Kashmiri language. The Mughal rulers even patronized the famous Hindi poets Amir Khusro, Amir Hassan, Dehalvi and Malik Muhammad Jaisi were Persian poets of repute who penned their immortal works during this period. The tradition of writing history got impetus during the Mughal period. The famous chroniclers of the period were Abul Fazl, Nizamuddin Ahmad Badauni, Abdul Hamid Lahori, Khafi Khan and Saki Mustaid Khan. Moreover, rulers like Jahangir and ladies from the royal family like Gulbadan Begum too recorded socio-political accounts of their age for posterity. Birth of Urdu. The most remarkable impact of foreign languages on the indigenous literary tradition was the birth of Urdu language. The common language of Indians was Hindi, and under the sultans, Persian was the court language. By continuous interaction between the two languages, a mixed variety of language called Urdu was born, having Persian script and many resemblances with Hindi language and style. Thus, Urdu became the most lyrical language, which was basically a product of linguistic synthesis. Vernacular language. Indian vernacular language had been benefited by Islamic influence to a great extent. The Muslim rulers of Bengal and Lucknow were great patrons of Bengali and Hindi literature. In the south, the sultans of Bijapur and Golconda also encouraged this trend. Bhakti movement. A great churning of ideas during this period gave rise to Bhakti movement, a powerful social upsurge for reform spearheaded by poet saints. The Bhakti movement had far-reaching effects on people. Firstly, it helped a lot in removing the existing bitterness between the Hindus and Muslims. Both became more tolerant towards each other. Secondly, several rituals and ceremonies were exposed and taught the people to give up evils like belief in superstitions, etc. This movement propagated the equality of all men. This also helped in checking conversions. Thirdly, the Bhakti reformers preached in common language of the people, which gave rise to the vernacular languages such as Bengali in the east, Gujarati and Marathi in west, and Punjabi in the north. Kabir, the reformer from Varanasi, or popularly known as Banaras, exposed the hypocrisy of orthodox Hindus and Muslims alike. He wrote eloquently against idolatry, caste prejudice, and articulated abstract metaphysical concepts in witty, memorable poetic phrases that were easy to grasp by the man on the street. Tulsidas retold the story of Rama, the virtuous prince of Ayodhya, in vernacular as a moral discourse to instill ethical values in private and public life. His narrative poem, Ramcharitmanas, soon acquired the status of a sacred book and continues to be regarded by many Hindus as compilation of traditional wisdom. Another remarkable name is that of Meera, a princess from Rajasthan who walked out of the palace to express her love for the cowherd god Krishna. She asserted the right of a woman to choose her way of life in a straight-jacketed feudal society. Ras Khan was a Muslim devotee of Krishna and presents a wonderful illustration of communal harmony that prevailed interestingly. Quite a few of these poet saints came from humble backgrounds. The Mughals borrowed as much as they gave both the Hindu and Muslim traditions of India were huge influences on their interpretation of culture and court style. Sufi movement. Sufism highlighted the essentials of love and devotion as the effective means of the realization of God. Sufis believed service to humanity was equal to service to God. Both the communities now began to imbibe each other's thoughts, traditions, and customs. This Hindu-Muslim unity left tremendous impact on the cultural domain of India. Gardens. The impact of Islamic culture found another outlet in the setting up of public and royal gardens. The art of gardening reached perfection during the time of Mughals, who had great taste for the same. Prior to the arrival of the Mughals, the concept of gardening as a form of line arts had not emerged. The Mughals were not only lovers of nature but also possessed the aesthetic sense to find relief from the toils of daily life through gardening. With due patronage from the rulers, a systematic science of gardening with certain forms and designs began to develop. Geometrically, the Mughal gardens was in the form of a square divided into four-fold plots called Char Bagh. It had an artificial irrigation system in the form of channels, tanks, or dwarf waterfalls. The main pavilion was built either on the topmost terrace or on the lowest one to allow the visitor to have a complete look of garden. Kabul Bagh and Shalimar Bagh were some of the most famous specimens of such gardens. Other arts which developed as impact of Islam include branches of arts also developed in India. Many new arts and crafts with Islamic origin began to emerge in Indian cultural scene. The art of making jewelry with setting of pearl and other precious stones on gold and silver ornaments reached its perfection. The peacock throne of diamonds, emeralds, rubies and pearls is a legendary masterpiece of the Mughal period. For embroidery works on dresses and curtains, Khanqahs, which is factories with laborers, craftsmen and master artists, sprang up in different parts of the country. Works on stones, marbles, metals, ivory, enamel paintings, making of paper, floral and other colorful designs on walls and glass panes were the result of Islamic influence. Art of calligraphy, weaving and dyeing also developed during Mughal rule. With such innovative techniques, silk brocades, magnificent carpets, muslin cloths and shawls began to be very popular. To conclude, the Islamic impact left a lasting influence on various aspects of Indian society and culture. The indigenous cultural tradition underwent a great transformation after coming in contact with Islamic heritage over several centuries in the realms of literature, art, social customs, etc. The effects of this cultural synthesis are no longer alien and have become an integral part of Indian society and culture. Islam deeply influenced Hindu ceremonies, social habits, thoughts and ideals, languages and literature, sciences and arts. Impact of Islam was also seen in terms of opposition to caste system, non-belief in idol worship and costly religious rituals and emergence of bhakti cult. The Parda system was initiated during medieval period. Intense impact on architecture and landscape gardening in terms of what we see in Taj Mahal, Red Fort, Qutub Minar. Art gardening, classic examples are Shalimar Gardens in Kashmir and Mughal Gardens in Delhi. Impact on culture including music and poetry. Musical instruments like sitar, shehnai, etc. were developed. Sufism, Qawwali were encouraged. In fact, Sufism emphasized on ascetic personal morality, material phenomena lasting for short time.